All right, Dr. Joe Schwartz standing by. He joins us every Tuesday afternoon at about this time. He is host of the Dr. Joe Show, which airs Sundays at 3 here on CJAD, and director of the McGill Office for Science and Society. Hey, Joe, I sent you this article because I knew you'd want to talk about this, and I think this is something that, gets mentioned fairly regularly, right? Ultra-processed foods.
Oh
So
yeah,
we're
that's it's
talking, everything from frozen pizza to ice cream, even pasta sauce, now under review from U.S. regulators over potential adverse health effects. Now, I brought this story up, number one, because I think I know how you feel about ultra-processed foods. We've talked about it. But how do you feel about these companies pushing back, saying, you know what, they're really getting a bad rap?
well, it's not surprising that they would push back, of course, because there's a lot of money involved in potato chips and frozen pizzas and soft drinks. And when these are sort of put, on a list of no-no foods, of course they're going to fight back. It's as with so many of the subjects that we discuss. When you scratch the surface, it becomes more complicated than it first seems. First of all, there's the issue of how you classify something as being a processed food. Because let's face it, even when you're cooking something at home, you're processing the food, right? I mean, when you're mashing your potatoes that you've boiled, that's a process. I guess the only time that it might not be a process is if you go and pick an apple and eat it right away off the tree. There's no processing involved. But processing should not be a word that damns all food. For example, some frozen vegetables, which of course are processed. Obviously, flash freezing is a process. Those can actually contain more nutrients than the freshly picked ones because the nutrients are preserved with the cold temperature.
Okay.
Or canned foods, which obviously are also processed, can be certainly a feature of the diet as long as you take a look at the label and make sure there's not too much salt in it. But the ones that really are getting a lot of the negative press are the soft drinks. I think very deservedly so. The candies, the potato chips, the frozen ready-to-eat meals, which often have various kinds of additives, whether it's emulsifiers or food colorers or preservatives. There are issues with those. But the overall issue is the fact that those processed foods are higher in fat, they're higher in salt, and they're higher in sugar than foods that we would make at home. And I think that's the real concern here. It isn't the processing per se, because as I said, processing, if you're processing vegetables to freeze them or can them, that's not a bad thing. But when you're adding a lot of salt and sugar and fat to things like ready-to-eat meals, like TV dinners, that's a different story. And what we now have is epidemiological evidence. And epidemiologists look at populations around the world, they take a look at what they are eating, and they take a look at disease patterns. And when you look at the Western diet, which is, what we eat here, where people shop a lot in the center of the supermarket where all the boxed goods are. Those are the processed ones. We find that there has been certainly an increase in obesity. There's an increase in type 2 diabetes. And those are nutrition-related ailments. And processed foods are, a target for that because of the high concentration of calories in terms of fat and sugar that they contain. So I think that there really is reason to pay attention to all of these warnings about eating too many processed foods because we do have the epidemiological evidence.
Right.
And there's, new study that comes out virtually every week about some negative aspect of eating processed foods. But let's face it, it's so easy to do that, right? It's so easy to go for hamburger and French fries than to go home and start cooking a meal from scratch. And we are increasingly eating more and more processed foods. people are eating more and more at fast food restaurants. And it's not surprising that we're seeing the increase in obesity and diseases related to obesity.
So I want to go back to what you said, because it's always a matter of quantifying this, right? You said when you have too much of this, there's nothing wrong with, like so many other things, just having it every now and then. It's the idea that you're constantly buying and eating the same stuff. If it's ultra processed, that's the concern.
Sure. I mean, don't sit on your couch at night watching TV, finishing off a bag of potato chips. If you're going to have, a bag of chips when you go to a hockey game or something, that's a different story. But it should not be a regular habit. But the one that, I've talked about the most, which is the one I think that would make the biggest difference if it were toned down and even cut out from the diet, are the sugar-sweetened soft drinks.
Right.
People just don't realize the amount of sugar that is in there. If you take a look at a can of Coke, well, I'm just using that as an example, but it applies to any soft drink. And you look at that, the 300 ml or whatever it is can, that has the equivalent of about 17 cubes of sugar in there. And of course, if you would see that, as lumps of sugar, it would give you a second thought.
Sure.
But you don't see it. It's all dissolved because sugar is so soluble in water. And there are people who will have several of those soft drinks a day. And, when we consider that the total amount of added sugar that we should be taking in a day is about 40 grams, one of these soft drink cans will put you over that limit. So, if you're having a couple of these, it's no surprise that the pounds start piling on.
Yeah. All right. Listen, we're out of time. I will bring up next time we talk. My daughter told me about this. I guess they kind of set themselves up calling themselves a new kind of soda, prebiotic, botanical, plant fiber. I tasted one. It's called Ollie Pop. Have you heard about this?
I haven't seen that one.
Okay. I'm
No.
going to send it to you. I had one that's grape soda. It tastes amazing. It's got 3 grams of sugar, and I think it's like 40 calories. So there's your way around drinking all that sugar to get something that we can discuss about this whole prebiotic idea, if you think it's a good idea.
I will
I'll
look
send
at
you this
it.
in the next time.
Send
All
it
right.
to me, and we'll talk about it.
Will do. Joe, thank you so much.
Okay.